Thank you all for being here. I'm LaVarn Burton, President and CEO of the American Kidney Fund. We're so pleased to be hosting this congressional briefing entitled Rare Kidney Disease, Helping Patients Find Answers. At the American Kidney Fund, we are aggressively addressing the crisis in kidney disease by fighting on all fronts on behalf of the 37 million people in the U.S. who are affected and the millions more at risk. Our wide-ranging educational initiatives aim to help people prevent, slow down, or manage kidney disease. And our advocacy priorities focus on championing policies and laws that will help ensure the best health outcomes for the kidney community. There are about 150 rare kidney diseases and no FDA-approved treatments for most of them, with many patients struggling to receive an accurate diagnosis and expert treatment. These treatment and diagnostic barriers, coupled with a lack of awareness and education around rare kidney diseases, often cause a delay in diagnosis. This delay can result in a rapid decline in kidney function and ultimately kidney failure, where the only options are dialysis or a transplant. Each day in the United States, 360 people on average begin dialysis, and 13 people die waiting for a kidney transplant. In 2021, Medicare spent almost $139 billion on chronic kidney disease and end-stage renal disease, also known as ESRD, ESKD, or kidney failure. To address rare kidney diseases in the United States, we need more research, public awareness, earlier diagnosis, access to genetic testing and counseling, additional treatments, and improved understanding of why rates of some rare kidney diseases are higher in underserved communities. These steps would help alleviate the burden of rare kidney disease on individuals and help defray cost of dialysis and kidney care in the Medicare program. We are so pleased today to be joined by AKF Ambassador Laur who lives with a rare kidney disease, nephrologist Dr. R Nunes, genetic counselor Dr. Julian Hooker, and policy expert Britta Dornan from NephCure. Also joining today with a special recorded message is Congressman Gus Baucus. If you have questions or comments, please submit them. We will try to answer or address as many as possible. But before we go any further, I would like to thank the American Kidney Fund's 2024 corporate members for their support in making today's briefing possible. I hope you will find this briefing informative and that you again gain a better understanding of how increased attention and action to address rare kidney disease will help reduce the number of people with end-stage renal disease. Our first speaker is U.S. Representative Gus Baucus, a Republican congressman representing Florida's 12th Congressional District. He was first elected to Congress on November 7, 2006. Congressman Baucus serves as a senior member of the Energy and Commerce Committee and is the chair of the Congressional Rare Disease Caucus. He is the sponsor of H.R. 6790, the new era of preventing end-stage kidney disease, as you will learn in the video that he submitted.
I'm honored to be able to participate in American Kidney Fund's 2024 virtual briefing entitled Rare Kidney Disease, Helping Patients Find Answers. I'm Congressman Gus Baucus, and I have the distinct privilege to serve as a senior member of the Energy and Commerce Subcommittee on Health, as well as co-chair of the Rare Disease Caucus here in Congress. For me, this work is very personal because I have many friends who have and continue to suffer with rare diseases. I know the cost, both in financial terms, but also the human toll that battling a rare disease inflicts upon the patients and his or her loved ones. As you all know, rare diseases are not a rare problem, unfortunately, and there are an estimated 7,000 rare diseases which affect more than 30 million Americans. And yet 95% of these conditions have no known treatment or cure. With each rare disease impacting smaller populations, there are challenges in getting the research and attention of each of these patients, the attention these patients deserve, especially in the private sector. For this reason, I've been a huge proponent of federal investments in research and development that can provide hope and potential cure for many of these rare diseases. Biomedical research saves lives, and I'm glad to see that this critical funding at NIH has been and continues to be an issue that brings together members of Congress from across the aisle. Specifically, as it relates to kidney disease, I was proud to author the New Era for Preventing End-Stage Kidney Disease Act, which I introduced with my colleague, Representative Terry Sewell from Alabama last year. This important legislation will help transform the delivery of care to rare disease patients by increasing community and healthcare provider awareness and education. Each year, Medicare spends more than $84 billion providing critical care to patients with chronic kidney disease, including $36 billion on patients with end-stage kidney disease. Unfortunately, there has been little innovation in treatment options for kidney disease patients since the 1960s, believe it or not, when dialysis and immunosuppressants became commonplace. However, last year, the FDA approved the first of its kind non-immunosuppressive drug therapy for the rare kidney disease IgA nephropathy. Despite this tremendous progress, patients struggle to find a nephrologist well-versed in their rare condition who can provide an accurate diagnosis and expert treatment. These treatment diagnostic barriers, coupled with lack of rare kidney disease awareness and education, often cause a delay in diagnosis that can result in a rapid decline in kidney function and ultimately kidney failure. For too many rare disease patients, their only option is, again, dialysis. But there is hope on the way through innovation and treatments being discovered and coming to market. Our life-saving legislation will help remove diagnostic and treatment barriers for many patients suffering with a rare kidney disease. Through the establishment of a Rare Kidney Disease Research Center of Excellence program at NIDDK, which will deliver new research coordination and increase provider education efforts. Through these training and awareness efforts, we can empower providers to better identify the signs and symptoms of rare kidney disease, which will lead to improved treatment options and better patient outcomes. That's the goal. I'm very excited about this legislation and have been working to help secure additional co-sponsors on both sides of the aisle, and I appreciate if you can help me with that. Talk to your member of Congress and let them know how important this is. Again, it's an honor. It really is an honor to speak before you today, but also to have the chance to thank you for your advocacy. It really does make a difference. Lawmakers meet with many people each day, but I have found that it is the personal, individual stories that truly make the biggest impact, at least for me. Sharing the challenges that you and your loved ones face. Again, if they face it due to kidney diseases, it really can't help me garner much needed support for the legislative changes we as a kidney community and as a rare disease community are hoping to make. So thank you for getting outside your comfort zone and educating your elected officials about how Congress can make a positive difference in the lives of our rare kidney patients. I know you will do great work, and we appreciate it so much. Again, thank you for participating today, and thank you for your support of this worthwhile endeavor.
We thank Congressman Baucus for taking the time to record this message for our briefing today. We're grateful, Congressman, for your leadership and partnership fighting on all fronts for the kidney community and for being a champion for people with rare kidney disease. We're now going to hear from AKF Ambassador Laur Lee Yost. In 2005, Laur Lee was diagnosed with a rare kidney disease called IgA nephropathy after a routine urinalysis. As time went by, her kidney function gradually declined and she was placed on the transplant list. Finally, unfortunately, in 2020, Laur Lee was the recipient of a life-saving kidney disease from a deceased donor. Laur Lee is also a registered nurse who works in hospital administration. Additionally, she is an active member of the IgAN Foundation and an AKF ambassador. Laur Lee wants to raise awareness about kidney disease, organ donation, and transplantation. Laur Lee, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everybody. My name is Laur Lee. I'm Laur Lee Yost. I am 49 years old. I am a mother, and as Laverne said, I'm also a registered nurse. Almost 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with a rare kidney disease. It all started with just a routine urine test that showed a lot of protein in my urine. Furthermore tests, and eventually had a kidney biopsy. And finally, my doctor has reached final diagnosis for what's going on with me. So I was in the office. There was a doctor there, and he told me that I have a rare kidney disease called IgA nephropathy, or IgAN, or Berger's disease. I was so stunned and so shocked and so confused, as I've never heard of such disease. He wrote it in the piece of paper and gave it to me. And he said, I'll see you in 6 months. So I went home very confused. I was determined to learn about this disease. I researched, and back in 2005, there was very limited information about IgA nephropathy. So I just navigated my own healthcare. I advocated for myself, but fast forward 15 years, eventually my kidney function has deteriorated, and I knew that I needed a kidney. So I was very proactive and doing all the necessary requirements to get into the transplant list. So I was put on the transplant list prior to me getting a dialysis. And I'm very lucky and very fortunate and very blessed to receive kidney donation from a deceased donor or a cadaver donor in December 2020. It was such a blessing. And I received it preemptively, meaning I was not on dialysis. So I skipped dialysis. I was able to receive the kidney transplant. I am now 3 years post-transplant, and I am doing well and very happy and very grateful for this life-saving kidney. I want to share my story because through my story, I want to raise awareness of kidney disease, specifically early detection of rare kidney disease. If you or someone you know is dealing with kidney disease, please know that you are not alone. There are resources out there. There's patient support group, and your medical professionals are willing to help you navigate this journey. Remember, early detection and proactive management can make a significant difference in the outcome. Stay strong, stay informed, and never lose hope. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura Lee, for those powerful words, for your advocacy on behalf of yourself and on behalf of so many other patients who are dealing not only with IgA nephropathy, but with other rare diseases as well. And now we'll turn to our panel. Our next speaker is Dr. Julie Wright Nunes, a nephrologist and associate professor with tenure in the Department of Internal Medicine, Division of Nephrology at the University of Michigan. She is a health services researcher with a focus on optimizing patient-provider communication and patient education, as well as support programs to help patients with kidney disease achieve the best possible clinical outcomes. She also leads continuous quality improvement and systems engineering redesign projects within research and clinical practice institutionally and with national kidney organizations, for example, with AKF. She's one of our former board members, and she also serves on our medical advisory committee. Thank you, Julie. She is a principal investigator on an NIH NIDDK large clinical trial that combines provider education with patient health coaching to support improved outcomes in patients with chronic kidney disease. Julie, thank you so much, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Lavarn, for that wonderful introduction. And I have some slides I'm going to review, and our wonderful staff is going to help me advance them. So I'll be saying next throughout the presentation. Again, my name is Julie Wright Nunes. I'm a kidney doctor at the University of Michigan and appreciate being able to share my perspectives on rare kidney diseases. Next. So my disclosures are at the top of the slide, and I show here talking points at the bottom of the slide. I'm going just to touch briefly on chronic kidney disease, hone in on rare kidney disease, our challenges and opportunities, and then what we can do to look ahead. Next. So this slide is showing a breakdown of what causes end-stage or end-stage kidney disease, end-stage renal disease. They're synonymous. And before I review this, I just want to touch on chronic kidney disease. What is that? So chronic kidney disease means that a person has some sort of injury to their kidneys that doesn't go away, and they may have reduced filtration, so the kidneys don't filter as good. There's 30 million people in the United States who have chronic kidney disease, and unfortunately, most of the people who have it are not even aware of it. This slide here is showing a graphic representation of the causes of the final stages of advanced chronic kidney disease, so end-stage renal disease. And we see here from the bar graphs that diabetes and high blood pressure cause most of chronic kidney disease and end-stage renal disease, followed by something called glomerulonephritis, which is inflammatory conditions of the kidneys, cystic disease, urologic causes, and other or unknown. And these are the categories that rare kidney diseases most often fit into. Next slide. So why does it matter if a person has chronic kidney disease? Well, the impact to patients and their families is really significant. The kidneys regulate processes to keep electrolytes, fluids, metabolism all in balance. They help keep our bones and blood counts healthy, and they remove poisons out of our system. And as kidney disease becomes more advanced and the kidneys don't filter as well, that may result in symptoms. And it requires specialty care that's often multidisciplinary and very complex, with an impact to patients, their families, and the health systems. Next slide. So honing in on rare kidney diseases. So first of all, what does rare mean? Rare in the United States is any condition that impacts less than 200,000 individuals. And so rare kidney diseases fit into that. It means there's a low number of individuals relative to the total population who might be impacted. And on the right of this slide, you'll see something that looks like kind of a different colored spaghetti diagram. And what that is a cartoon picture of a nephron, or a filtering unit of the kidney, and there's about 1 million of them in each of our kidneys. This was taken from a Lancet article in 2014. And the color-coded boxes are showing just some of the rare inherited kidney diseases that can impact different parts of those little filtering units. But overall, there's over 150 plus inherited and non-inherited rare kidney diseases. And the impact to our patients is significant because rare kidney diseases often are hereditary, so they hit people earlier in life, and they're more aggressive, meaning that they progress to end stages quicker. There are limited therapies, if any, and if they are available, they're expensive and have their own risk profiles to the patients. Many patients, unfortunately, still progress to end-stage kidney disease. And even if what we see in some rare diseases looks really similar, comparing one patient to another, the pathways of getting there might be different. And the reason that's complicated is because then they require different treatments, even though they look similar on the surface. Typical testing is really important for all types of kidney diseases. So urine testing, blood testing, and kidney biopsies are very helpful, but they may not always provide the information needed for people who have rare kidney diseases. Next slide. The impact is also significant because rare kidney disease is even more complex for patients, not only because of all of the sequelae or the things that can happen in chronic kidney disease, but because it's rare and because people haven't seen it, even doctors, nurses, people across the spectrum. So it might require subspecialty care. Symptoms may hit earlier in life because of this, with fatigue, swelling, shortness of breath, itching, high uncontrollable blood pressure, nausea, and vomiting, and those are just a few of the symptoms. Plus, if a disease occurs earlier in life, there's potential for cognitive, physical, and other changes or delays for our patients. Next slide. So there are associated challenges, but also some opportunities. And this is taken from a conference entitled Common Elements in Rare Kidney Diseases. Individually, rare kidney disease raises specific issues because there's not large amounts of data or research or evidence-based trials on therapies. There's small numbers of patients, and they're sometimes hard to diagnose. But as a group, these rare diseases have overlapping challenges that we can use together to not only understand rare diseases and how to treat them, but chronic kidney disease in general. There's unidentified causes and unique pathways. And by focusing on understanding some of the unique pathways, maybe can enlighten us about other common pathways. There's lack of typical biomarkers for monitoring. Thus, collectively, there's a need to look at other ways to monitor. And there's the need for comprehensive care. Next slide. But there's also opportunities, and I've listed just some of them here. There's a need for comprehensive care with trained clinicians who understand rare diseases within the kidney community and outside of it, with research and education to support it and keeping patients' voices at the forefront. So we can do this with centers of excellence. There's also an opportunity to understand what therapies work and which ones don't, which we can continue with research, support, and funding. There's also opportunities to diagnose and provide information that can be used prognostically alongside appropriate and timely counseling, for example, genetic testing and counseling that can really be beneficial, especially in rare diseases. And also opportunities to ensure that our health systems are equipped to address the needs of all of our patients. Next slide. I like to leave on a message of hope because there is a lot of hope. There is continuing NIH-funded research in these areas. Even though I advocate that there needs to be more, there's fantastic groups, Neptune and CureGN, along with the NIH, working on advocating for patients with rare diseases and finding ways to help them. As was mentioned earlier, there are therapies and trials to address mechanisms and examine treatments, for example, in IgA nephropathy, one of the rare diseases, and something called FSGS. Next slide. So the key takeaways are that although rare kidney disease can be a devastating diagnosis, with the right management, training, and optimization, we can provide comprehensive care and support for these patients. But advocacy is necessary for more research, unified approaches for excellent care, and appropriate testing and counseling for all of our patients. So gathering like this is an amazing start, and thank you for allowing me to join you in this effort.
Thank you so much, Julie. Our next speaker is Dr. Julian Hooker, Chief Scientific Officer at Concert Genetics and the past president of the National Society of Genetic Counselors. She also serves as an adjunct associate professor with the Vanderbilt University Medical Center and leads the research section of the Vanderbilt Genetic Counseling Training Program. Jillian, thanks for being with us today. We're excited to learn more about the importance of genetic testing and counseling, as well as HR 3876, which has a Senate number S2323, the Access to Genetic Counselor Services Act. Dr. Hooker.
Thank you so much for having me with you today. And thanks to ACAP for all of the amazing work you do that is absolutely having an impact across the country on many, many patients' lives living with chronic kidney disease. I think my slides are coming up. I am here today to talk about the Access to Genetic Counselor Services Act. This is a bill that has particular importance to the kidney disease community and especially to the rare kidney disease community, as you've heard, where diagnosis is really tricky and there is a lot of undiagnosed disorders out there to be evaluated, and patients who need better access to the right tests so that they can get access to the right treatments. And the bill is particularly important because it impacts Medicare beneficiaries who today do not have access to genetic counselors. And given the large percentage of kidney disease patients who are Medicare beneficiaries, it has a particular impact on this population. Next slide, please. So a little bit more generally about the need for this bill. So today, Medicare does reimburse for genetic counseling services, just not when provided by a genetic counselor, because genetic counselors are not recognized as providers within the Social Security Act. So physicians, nurses, other folks could provide genetic counseling services, but genetic counselors who have particular expertise and training in genetics and genetic testing and in finding the right genetic test for a patient when they need it are not recognized providers and thereby cannot perform this service and bill for their services to Medicare beneficiaries. So given that Medicare is a federal health insurance program, it requires a change to the Social Security Act to add genetic counselors as recognized providers, and that's what the bill would do. Next slide, please. So just to talk a little bit about recognized providers in Medicare. So this slide shows you a list of providers who are recognized as providers in the Social Security Act. It includes physicians, nurse practitioners, physician's assistants, but also specialized providers such as audiologists and naturopaths, specialty nurse practitioners who can serve Medicare beneficiaries. In some cases, the addition of these services has actually saved Medicare dollars, and we believe that will be the case for genetic counselors as well. And I'll say more about that in a moment. Next slide, please. The bill currently in active, introduced last year, HR 3876, and its companion Senate Bill 2323, is really being led by the National Society of Genetic Counselors. On the House side, the co-leads are Representative Adrian Smith and Representative Brian Higgins, and it has to date 42 co-sponsors in the House. On the Senate side, the bill's champions are Senator John Barrasso and John Tester, and we have 8 other co-sponsors, and have really been grateful for the bipartisan support that this bill has had. I think it speaks to the needs of people, Americans across the country. I think we've had support from a lot of representatives from rural communities, because those are communities who in particular do not have access to genetic counselor services today, as well as folks who really want to generally drive access to testing and counseling across the country. Next slide, please. So I think to talk a little bit more about what this bill will do, by providing or granting provider status to genetic counselors under Medicare, you allow genetic counselors to bill for the services they would provide to Medicare beneficiaries. Today, access is really limited because many centers can't afford to sustain genetic counseling groups within their practices. As a result, genetic counselors are highly concentrated in academic medical centers where their salaries can be subsidized in other ways, either with research funding or by tying it to downstream services that are provided. But many federally qualified healthcare centers, many community hospitals can't sustain practices for genetic counselors. And so folks who are seen in those settings aren't able to access genetic counseling services. There's also limited access to telehealth for a variety of reasons, including the lack of recognition for genetic counselors under Medicare. So many of the telehealth provisions, for instance, that were extended during COVID didn't apply to genetic counselors because they're not recognized in the Social Security Act. The bill also has a provision that proposes that genetic counselors be reimbursed at 85% of the current physician fee schedule. So when they provide genetic counseling services, it would be at a lower rate than when done by physicians. And most importantly, what this bill will do is really promote the appropriate utilization of genetic testing. There's a wealth of literature that shows that when genetic counselors are involved in the ordering of testing, there are far fewer testing errors, and the correct test is ordered far more often. There are estimates out there that as many as 30% of all genetic tests ordered are misordered. And so that's a lot of dollars that are being spent on tests that are not benefiting patients or maybe inappropriate for patients. And by getting the right test to the right patient at the right time, you promote better outcomes. You get patients to the right treatments. You get them to the right clinical trials that we need, in particular in the kidney space, to really drive care forward and drive progress in this space for all patients with kidney disease, but certainly especially for patients with rare kidney diseases. As I said, the combination of the reimbursement rate for genetic counselors, along with appropriate utilization of tests, and then by consequence downstream services, are all reasons to believe that this bill will ultimately save Medicare dollars. Next slide. So then we have a link here for folks to contact their representatives to advocate for the bill. And there are a number of resources as well on the National Society of Genetic Counselors website. With that, I'll thank you again for allowing us to participate, and most especially thank AKF for all of their amazing work. They have made tremendous progress in the years since they started diving into the rare kidney disease space, and I am really excited to see what's to come.
Thank you so much, Julian, for a great presentation. Our next speaker is Britta Dornan. As NephCure's Executive Director of Strategic Relations, Britta leads the strategy and oversight of the organization's government advocacy programs, physician education initiatives, and industry relations efforts. Prior to NephCure, Britta served as Senior Director of Communications and Marketing at the Every Life Foundation for Rare Diseases, where she led the creation and execution of advocacy communication strategies to achieve the foundation's federal and state policy and legislative goals. Britta, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Laur, and thank you to the American Kidney Fund for hosting this amazing event and for inviting me to speak. And thank you to each and every one of you for showing up today. My name is Britta Dornan, and I'm the Executive Director of Strategic Relations at NephCure. NephCure is a nonprofit organization, and when you think NephCure, I'd like you to think two things. One is rare kidney disease, and the other is empowering patients, because that's what we are all about. We were founded 24 years ago to empower people with rare protein-spilling kidney disease to take charge of their health while leading the revolution in research, new treatments, and care. And so one big way that we do that is by empowering people like you to make your voices heard in public policy. Next slide, please. And this is one example of how you can make your voice heard on the New Era Act, the New Era of Preventing End-Stage Kidney Disease Act. And it's championed by these two leaders and wonderful people in Congress. One should look familiar. You just heard from him, Representative Gus Baucus of Florida, and the other is Representative Terry Sewell of Alabama. This bill, I just want to point out, is the only federal bill that is specific to rare kidney disease, and it was developed by you, by the community, conversations with the community. So rare kidney disease, or RKD, is a big driver of chronic kidney disease, and it costs, as Laur noted earlier, nearly $130 billion a year. But there is a wave of research that has resulted in advancements, and that's why we call it a new era, that we are in a new era, and we believe that Congress must pass this bill to improve diagnosis and treatment for RKD, and to delay or eliminate the need for dialysis and transplant. That's what this bill is all about. So let me take you through it. Next slide, please. I have 4 quick slides to take you through the 4 big sections of the bill. The first is that the bill would create centers of excellence specifically on rare kidney disease research, yay, within the National Institutes of Health, or the NIH. Christine Floto here, mother of an FSGS patient, says understanding the process and that there is no standard guideline for care is hard. Each center from state to state varies. So if you have one that is not well educated or involved in the battle, you're fighting on your own against doctors' egos to have the same quality standard of care. So that's what these centers of excellence would address. They would give grants to establish regional centers that would conduct research and public awareness so that we can get that standard of care, because every kidney disease patient deserves the best care and the same care across the board. Next slide, please. This section of the bill would help us to better understand and slow the progression of rare kidney disease. And it would require the Health and Human Services Secretary to conduct a study on these early interventions and approaches and report back to Congress within a year and a half. And as you can see by our friend Lisa Bowenbrake, who leads the Alport syndrome, genetic testing is absolutely critical and key. And so that's one of the approaches that HHS would be required to study and report back to Congress and say, this is what needs to be done. Next slide, please. This section of the bill would enhance provider education. Stuart Miller, an IgAN patient, says, I had 7 doctors who did not diagnose my disease despite the symptoms I was experiencing. This sounds familiar to you? Well, that's why this bill would provide grants for primary care training specifically on RKD, and it would create nephrology fellowships specifically on RKD. Next slide, please. And finally, this bill would, at its heart, help to delay transplant and dialysis, because the HHS would be required again to evaluate the methods for treating RKD and report back to Congress. We would have it in black and white from the HHS. So as you can see from Kelly Helm, the mother of an FSGS patient, that the general public and even some medical professionals view dialysis and transplant as adequate treatments. And that's not acceptable. We deserve better. So if any of this resonated with you today, what I just described, next slide, please. Take out your phones right now and scan this QR code, and you'll be taken to a page where you fill in your name and address, and boom, a letter is sent to all of your members of Congress asking them to support this bill. As Representative Bilirakis said earlier this morning, we need you. It won't get passed on its own. We need you to tell your members of Congress to please pass this important bill. And another way to ask your members to support the bill is by joining us in person this summer, July 24th and 25th in Washington, D.C. for Rare Kidneys on the Hill Day. It's an incredible experience, one that I really can't put into words too well. So let me just play this 2-minute video for you that'll give you the flavor.
It is a very rare moment in history when you get to say, wow, these rare diseases, we actually have something we can do now. We're the first time when we could prevent end-stage kidney disease. It is a truly new era.
We are here today with our largest group of advocates ever.
We're here today because we need a new era for kidney disease.
I am here to speak to the lawmakers and advance bills that can really help people to not suffer through life the way that me and my family certainly have.
I'm here today for kids like me, trying to make a change and make lives easier.
It was really great to meet different families and people who were out here.
So much of the research is originating with projects that are funded by federal programs.
There have been so many breakthroughs for every one of our glomerular diseases. And we're starting now to see that actually translate into therapies.
And it's happening quickly.
I've been involved in politics for a long time, so I know from the other side that sharing your story is the best way to make an impact.
We had an amazing day. Our advocates were able to share their stories with their members of Congress.
I think it's really great to talk to the staffers, just to keep them informed, let them know what's going on.
The odds are that legislators actually do know somebody personally who's affected by it.
Everybody is feeling really empowered, feeling really good.
I'm really impressed with the level of knowledge that staff have.
I feel like a lot of the representatives or senators will definitely be interested in passing in the new Congress.
I have suffered from rare kidney disease for over 34 years now, and it is absolutely time to get some funding and some education towards kidney disease and everyone that it affects.
We deserve
better!
Each of you deserves better. So I hope that you join us this summer in Washington, D.C. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Britta. And thanks to all of our speakers this morning. As you can see, it takes a team with varied backgrounds and experiences and focuses. And we're just so grateful to have, starting with the congressional support, very, very important, key to all of this, the patient support, the provider, the geneticist, the advocacy support. Working together, we can do so much to advance the cause of people who are dealing with rare kidney diseases. So thank you all for participating. Thanks as well for everyone who has joined us. And I hope that all of you who've been listening are sending in questions, because we do have a little time for questions. I want to start with a question to Laura Lee. Laura Lee, speaking as a patient, what do you think can be done to help make the rare disease patient experience better?
Yes, as I've said before, that proactive management with this rare kidney disease it would make a significant outcome. So when I was told I have a rare kidney disease, it seems like, oh, we'll just wait when your kidney deteriorate and then we'll put you on dialysis or transplant. It seems like that was my only option. But a proactive management to avoid dialysis and to avoid transplant, it should be the main goal of this rare kidney disease. So education on the kidney doctors about rare kidney disease would really make a significant impact on patients like me, who has and many other patients out there. Thank you.
And Laura Lee, what about your primary care physician? What do you think, what would you like to see there from a primary care physician, even before you get to the nephrologist?
Yes, the primary care physician would be great too, because I was initially diagnosed with from a nurse practitioner. Actually, it was the one that kind of detected that urine protein in my urine, and it went to a couple doctors before the nurse practitioner noticed it and said, "Why do you always have this? This is already the third urine test you have," and it seems like we're just treating you for urine infection, but not checking into your kidney. So I think also the primary care physicians or doctors should be educated about the rare kidney disease that is, and the rare kidney disease out there and the treatments for them.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. Having a provider early on who is looking and recognizes that something isn't quite right and follows up with that. So thank you so much for that. Dr. R Nunes, what do you think are the 2 or 3 most important questions that a rare kidney disease patient should ask their nephrologist?
That's a great question, Lavarn. I think the first question seems maybe a little bit intuitive or simple, but I think it's very important. And that is, where is my current kidney function right now? And what are your recommendations for me to keep it stable or improve it? And that can apply to individuals with any form of chronic kidney disease. But I think it's a really important question, basically to know your numbers, right? To know where you're at. I think the other rare disease specific question that I would ask patients to keep with their nephrologists on primary care is what are newer therapies that are available? You know, what are some things coming out? What are some of the trials? And as we've learned today, I mean, there are therapies available now that weren't available even 10 years ago. And so it's constantly evolving. And now is a really great and hopeful time for therapies coming out and research to support it. So I think it's really important to know with your nephrologist what is available or coming down the pipeline. And then lastly, I just set up expectations with your kidney doctor. And I'd say this for any provider that you're with. There has to be communication going both ways. And if a patient, along with their caregivers, are interested in getting information in a certain format, a certain way, are willing to explore clinical trials, I think that's a really important dialogue to have. And lastly, if you don't feel as though your doctor's advocating with you, then I feel like it's okay to look into other providers. And I say that with a little bit of difficulty, but as I was hearing Laura Lee's story, being the advocate, I mean, the patient shouldn't be the only advocate in their journey. I would like to think that we as providers and across the spectrum of care, we're all advocates.
Thank you so much, Julie. It's just so important. You know, we all hope that our providers are paying attention and advocating on behalf of us. And we need to select those who will do that. But, you know, every time we go for a physical, more than likely you get something in writing in terms of your lab results, and looking at those and seeing whether the numbers are within the normal range, and really being persistent and aggressive and following up when they are not is just so important. And it's often can start the discussions that can get us to some solutions. So thanks so much, both Laura Lee and Julie, for that input. And Dr. Hooker, let's talk a little bit about genetic testing and counseling. How do you think what can we do to make testing and counseling more accessible to more patients?
Yeah, this is a big question. And when I hear this question, I imagine like a track that you would run on with a series of hurdles. There are a lot of hurdles to be overcome. And I think some of it starts with just a systemic understanding of why is this working for a small number of patients and not working for a lot of patients? Why are they not being referred for genetic counseling? Why are their providers not comfortable ordering testing? Why are those tools not available for them? And how do we make it easier? I think telehealth, when it comes to genetic counseling, is an incredible opportunity. That there's plenty of data to say genetic counseling can be done as well via telehealth as it can be done in person. And we can really reach people that way to get good history, family history, personal history, to make sure the right test gets ordered. And all of this needs to be covered. And the path to coverage is also a complex one, but it involves, in some cases, federal policy, like the Access to Genetic Counseling Services Act. In some cases, advocacy at the provider level. I think professional guidelines are increasingly being used to drive payer policies and being recognized as a source in genetic testing to drive coverage of genetic tests. So I think from the provider organizations, it's really important that they be advocating for tools on that. And there's a question I think that's coming up for Dr. R Nunes, but I'll comment on it briefly. I think our technologies, AI technologies or other sort of EHR-based tools for identifying the patients who should be referred are getting better, and we need to find ways to really implement those.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that response. And let me turn now to Britta for a moment. Britta, where do you see the rare kidney disease space going in the next 2 to 3 years? And how can we ensure that innovative products are, first of all, what can we do to support review and consideration through the FDA process, and then coverage by insurance companies?
Well, we see the next 2 to 3 years as being very hopeful, Lavarn, thanks to our partners in industry and thanks to patients who are watching right now and engaging in clinical trials. We see more treatments coming to be available to patients. We have seen a couple of products come forth to help with IgAN patients, but there are currently now, we interface with them on a daily basis, industry members, meaning pharmaceutical companies that are conducting clinical trials across the spectrum of rare kidney disease, FSGS, C3G, minimal change, MN, and we are speaking to companies regularly who are entering the space and about to start clinical trials. And so you can help, those of you who are watching, if you aren't already, enroll, take a look at the clinical trials happening today and talk with your provider to see if there's one that is right for you. These can be seen at nephcure.org. That's a great resource. But importantly, everyone watching needs to make their voices heard, to address the second part of your question, Laur, about coverage, because unless patients and providers make their voices heard, we won't see that change. And I encourage patients to engage their providers in this advocacy work that I described as well, because that's a great 1-2 punch, patients and providers talking with members of Congress. And so I believe that over the next 2 to 3 years, we will see policy proposals come forth that will address coverage issues specifically for these treatments. We will see policy proposals that address and engage payers, meaning insurance companies, Medicare, Medicaid. They will put forth creative payment models that have incentives. We'll need to have incentives to cover early diagnosis and treatment. So it will be a fast-paced, ever-changing, and hopeful next few years. That is our hope and belief, Laur.
Thanks for shining some sunshine here and giving us some hope. Really appreciate this. Now, let me turn to a subject that is so much in the top of mind issue for all of us, which is artificial intelligence. And Dr. R Nunes, I want to put this question to you. How do you see AI improving diagnosis at in the kidney disease space?
Thank you for that question. And it's a great question. Like you said, it's very timely. So even prior to kind of this era where AI has come more to the forefront, there have been investigators, researchers, clinicians partnering to develop ways to try to predict using tools from the electronic medical records, through labs that we might have available on patients, and other factors to try to predict those that might be at risk. And now some research is starting to be done to say, well, here's some populations that are at risk. So getting this information to the primary care providers of these patients earlier, even creating flags within electronic systems to kind of cue the providers to then do testing that might be more standard right now, just blood and urine tests, not so hard to get, not so invasive as other testing. And then even embedding with that some kind of algorithmic approaches for what we can do for next steps. So that, again, isn't specific to rare kidney diseases. The work I've seen has kind of been more general, and it's been ongoing for some years. I don't think we're entirely where it can just be rolled out across a national platform, but I'm really encouraged by that. And there's many teams working on different models of that. So that's just one example where I think we can use it to our benefit. I think the one caution and the duty that we have with AI in any forefront, and especially within medicine, is to make sure that if there are existing disparities in care, that the AI isn't plugging in to create more of these, that when we are trying to identify individuals who might be at risk of something, we're doing it in a way that provides equity for everybody, and that ensures that we're identifying these issues for people as early as possible, again, across the continuum of all of the patients affected.
Okay. Thank you so much, Julian. I think that's a really important point, that as much as AI can be helpful, we have to make sure that it doesn't worsen certain things around, especially around equity issues that we've all been working so hard to try to close those gaps. And we want to make sure that these new capabilities are available across the board for all patients. Laura Lee, I want to turn back to you. And I know that you said you had a preemptive transplant, so you were never on dialysis. But could you talk a little bit about the challenges of work-life balance with dealing with with kidney disease and transplant. And if you talk with other patients also about the dialysis challenges, would you share that with us?
Yes. So I was a bedside nurse for 15 years. And being in a bedside nurse and having end-stage renal disease, and that didn't work for me. So that was very difficult for me. So since then, I transferred to an office work. So that one worked for my work-life balance. And then my supervisors and directors all know my condition, so they're very understanding of my case now, that they do know if I have some appointments or some blood work that needs to be done. I just let them know, and they are aware of it, so they let me go. So I am very fortunate to be working in the same health system for a while now. It's going to be 20 years this year. So they're very understanding of my condition.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that certainly is a good news story. So many patients are really challenged, not only in terms of dealing with the physical issues around kidney disease and kidney failure, but also the economic issues and the possible loss of employment is a whole additional discussion that we have to be concerned about. I want to thank all of you for joining us, our panelists and presenters, and for the wonderful insights that you have shared. We're now at the conclusion of our 2024 congressional briefing. And this has just been such an informative and educational discussion and a topic that we really need to raise as a top of mind issue in public awareness. I encourage everyone watching to learn about AKF's advocacy priorities and find out how to get more involved. Go to our website at kidneyfund.org/advocacy to learn more. Please continue to tune in for all of our Kidney Action Week sessions this week, which will go on through Friday. Our next session, What's Happening in the States, will start at noon. And please be sure to join us for other Kidney Action Week sessions throughout this week. We're delighted to have you and look forward to you joining us for the rest of the week. Thank you so much.